This episode is for mature audiences only. Sex abuse is discussed. Viewer discretion advised.
It came to me all like a train. God, it was in my 20s, probably getting in my late 20s, and it hit me. All of it hit me, all these nightmares and of this happening, but I'm in the body of my little self. Who's this man on top of me? Who's this man on top of me? Yeah, it was my father.
Yep.
Are you recording on your end?
Hi, I'm Suzanne, and I'm a Christian. I've spent my entire life in what I call an echo chamber.
Oh my gosh.
I've just always been surrounded by people who look like me and think like me. And the world is so divisive.
Yeah.
I just personally want to leave my echo chamber. And I want to get uncomfortable. And I want to sit down with people who have different belief systems than me. And seek to understand their story. And I want to love them for who they are, where they are.
Of course.
Okay, I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions. What's a Halloween costume from your past that made you feel cool as hell while you wore it?
I wore I think it was He-Man one year. Yeah, it was cool. I think I was 11.
Okay. You can load your plate with only one food item next Thanksgiving. Which item are you choosing?
Mac and cheese. Mac and cheese, yeah.
Alex is my cousin. Alex's mom, Elaine, is actually my cousin. So that makes you my
Second cousin, I don't know.
second cousin, first cousin once removed. We don't know. We don't care. We grew up seeing each other only once a year at Thanksgiving. And that was at the old folks' home where my grandmama Talbert and your
Nanny is all I called her growing up. But yeah, both of them lived there. Yeah.
So we grew up seeing each other at Thanksgiving at the old folks' home just once a year.
Once a year.
And you were the middle child. You had an older sister and a younger sister. And you were Deborah.
Yep.
Let me ask you this. Like, what is, if you can think of one, what is like your earliest childhood memory that's the most vivid?
Ooh, that's a good one. I remember sports. I remember I played a lot of t-ball. In fact, I played a lot of sports. I remember times in my Granny Hogue, your dad's sister, I think it is, Granny Hogue's house. We spent a lot of our childhood in that house. I will tell you, there's a lot of incidents where I hit my head. I think I was running around too much. But I remember playing t-ball, hitting my head, getting hit in the head. I remember just running into walls. But I think the earliest memory, God, there's I would say really when I'm really thinking about stuff, it'd have to be after we moved to Hornwall, because a lot of the other stuff is really like
How old were you when you moved to Hohenwald?
I think it was around 11.
I Googled this morning. The latest census number for Hohenwald, Tennessee is 2010. Less than 3,800 people.
Yeah, just
So like when you moved there at the age of 11, was it about that same number?
it was less. I feel like, I mean, you're going to a country town. Yeah, but it was, I guess, my dad's opportunity to buy a house. He didn't have very good credit, so it gave him an opportunity in this place. So yeah, but very, very small town. One red light. Yeah, when I grew up. So.
And you grew up in the Church of Christ. And what was the name of the church that you remember growing up?
Pineview Church of Christ.
Pineview Church of Christ.
Pineview Church of Christ. Yeah,
And you have a photograph in front of that church of you and your sisters, right?
Oh, that church. Yeah, so that was my granny's church that I have a picture, and I had it on my phone, and that was Spring Hill Church of Christ. So that was my granny and grandparents, and that was in Spring Hill, which seemed to have, it was country when we were growing up, but it's really big now. But like Hornwall was still small, it never really got growth, and so
But in this photograph, you're the middle child, but you're on the far right, Melody's in the middle, Becky's on the end, and you guys are like these three perfect little blonde babes, and you're dressed alike, and got the cute bangs. Do you like, and you're wearing a little dress?
I am.
Did you like that, or were you like, why does my mom make me do this?
So I think at that time in my life, and how do I explain this? So for me, there wasn't an opportunity to think out the box. There wasn't an opportunity to think that this isn't normal. As a kid, church was so important. I mean, it was so important. So my feelings inside, and at that age, I knew that I liked to play with cars and trucks. I knew that I didn't want to play with Barbies. I would do the weirdest stuff too. It's like, I got a hold of a Barbie, and I don't know why kids do weird stuff. And like, so I knew there's this like intent to not, but there was such a compliance in me. I was the most compliant child you would ever meet in your life. I would just walk. I'm a soldier. And that's what I was. And so when you say, I didn't know I was allowed to have them feelings. And so my granny made that dress, and I adored my granny so much. And I love that little kid when I look at that picture. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but that little kid was very compliant. So, so I didn't really know, to answer your question, I didn't really know if there was an option to wear something else.
Do you remember, and just to be clear, you now would consider yourself a trans man?
Oh, yeah.
Is that the right way?
That's perfect.
And do you remember a certain point in time where you were like, this light bulb came on, you were like, I'm different. Something's different, something's out of whack, or however you would phrase it.
Yeah, and lucky for me, I use humor. So, but yeah, I remember there's a lot of little incidents. I remember having crushes on like my oldest sister's friend, and like, what are these feelings? You know what I mean? And so the big one, we're in Hornwall, and we're driving down, and my dad has a pickup truck, and me and Melody's in the back, and behind us are these two girls. And I want to say, and I know who these girls are today, so this is funny. So, but they're older, and I'm new to town. And they're driving on, in Hornwall, there's this square, and every cool person would just drive around the square. And so they're driving, and I'm flirting in the back. I am what you would call anybody flirting with these two girls in the back, like, hey, look at me. So I say that was the moment that I knew, hey, I'm gonna flirt with these people out of the back, knowing we're all the same. You know what I mean? And so that still stuck in me. It's very humorous, because I'm like, what was I doing? You know what I mean? But kids are kids, and they're cute. And, but yeah, that's the moment. Yeah, that's the moment. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll jump around a little bit. Okay. And then you can come back, whatever we need to do. But, there was a point in your life where you endured some sex abuse.
Yeah.
Do you remember the ages? Do you remember how old you were?
So the sex abuse, yes, it was around ages 4 to 9 is what years of therapy. Yeah, this is why I don't have much memory of my childhood. I mean, and a dear friend told me the coolest thing the other day, and it just clicked. He's like, yeah, your body's just like, joke on you. I'm not going to remember this. Haha, you can't hurt me. But I know it's messed up, Susan. But my body did that in a way to like protect me. But during that time in my, if I could just stream just a little bit with you, it came to me all like a train. I was living in Portland, and it was in the early 2000s. So yeah, I was in my, it was in my 20s, probably getting in my late 20s, and it hit me. All of it hit me, all these nightmares and of this happening, but I'm in the body of my little self. And there was a lot of stuff I had to deal with. Who's this man on top of me? Who's this man on top of me? And yeah, it was my father, and he wasn't the only one, Susan. My mom put us in bad situations, and my mom, we lived in North Carolina for a while. And this was an early childhood memory, I want to say. God, when we lived, and my sister was involved, but by this time I was already sexually abused. And I know this because if you follow this journey, me at that age shouldn't know about the stuff that I knew about at that time in my life. No, little kids, they don't talk about stuff like that. Little kids don't approach it. So there's this man down the street and his son, God, I must be about 8. His son, probably a good 13, 14. I don't know. My mom's with somebody named Tommy TV Paul, and she's really non-existent. And really, my Aunt Mary is who shines during this time in our life because my dad was not involved at this particular time, and my mom was with somebody very abusive, and my aunt came down to try to help. And during this time, the neighbor guy, it was the guy's father who the guy wanted to be my boyfriend, who was like 13. His father thought it'd be great to, lock me in a room and do a couple things to me. And so, and it was never penetration, but it was mouth stuff, and it was, it was pretty gross for a kid. But at this time, I already knew what he was doing, and there's no way after years of therapy that a child that's 8 years old is not. Yeah, it's just, and I remember he remembered giving me like some stupid $5 or something. And for years, I felt shame by this, and I remember taking it and spending, buying something with it because in my mind, here I did this, I got this for it, and this.
Did you ever tell anyone that had happened?
So I had a friend who knew it had happened. And Melody was around, but Melody was young. And so, but the friend knew. And my mom went down there, but she tried. So my friend told my mom, and this all happened. But she tried, but she was being locked in the closet at this time by this guy. So I'm not taking up for her. I'm just telling you her life.
Yeah.
We were vulnerable children, and I'm not by any means making right of just, I'm just trying to tell you the journey that we were on, and like from my perspective, this little child at the time. So there's a lot happening to her at this time, and so when I did tell her, I think she blocked it out, as my mom did a lot of things. So and I think I learned that. I think we all learn how to handle stuff from our parents, whether healthy or not. And I learned a lot of really bad stuff at that moment. So them are the earliest moments, I would say, that I really, and forever changed me, because you just don't know what your life would be if that wouldn't happen. You have no idea. Yeah. And so for me to speculate, it would just be that, and so.
Yeah. When you were a teenager, if I remember correctly, you started to really come to an awareness that you were attracted to the same sex. So can you walk me through the story of how that played out? Whether, did it start when you were 15, 16? And then let's talk about the story of when you ultimately had to disclose this to your parents in Hohenwald, Tennessee. Very involved in the Church of Christ. Can you walk me through that?
Yeah, so I would say when I was in 8th grade, again, in my mind, to be too young to be such boy or girl hungry at any age, but 8th grade, I meet this guy named Dale DeVore. At this time, I'm trying to be normal. You don't know, I am trying to be normal because everything, when I go every Sunday, every Wednesday night, every Sunday morning, you know what I mean? It's telling me I'm going to hell. We are having these discussions on Sunday dinner sometimes, and I know where people stand who I thought loved me, So, I mean, I'm not going to talk about it. In fact, I'm just going to digress. I'm not digress, but shove it down deep. So I'm dating this guy named Dale DeVore, and I'm in 8th grade.
Real quick, I want to interrupt you real quick. When you said you would sit around the family dinner table, with your mom and dad, and these discussions would happen?
Yeah, I mean, church. I found growing up, church was really punitive, and they talked a lot about homosexuality being a sin in the 90s in the church when I was little. I mean, I know because I got ulcers, because I knew when they would talk about it, it was talking about me, even if I couldn't understand.
But even your family would talk about it at home.
Oh, yeah, my mom. Yeah. And yeah. It got focused. And I knew that they did not want me like that. So, you wouldn't tell people that. So I'm dating, and they're happy. I'm dating this boy named Del DeVore. They think I'm cured. Oh, and he's a good guy. I don't want to paint anything bad about Del DeVore.
But how old were you?
God, 8th grade.
Oh my God.
I know, 8th, 9th grade too. I was with him. I know, young. We had no business having sex, but everybody was doing it. Like, everybody. Like, it was just, and so it became this way, and we became friends. But what changed is I became real good friends with this girl from, she's from Linden, but, Hornwall is so close, Linden and Hornwall, that for some reason we developed a friendship, and I would stay overnight with her. And I got it bad. When I tell you I got it bad, I got it bad. And when you got a crush on somebody so bad, I don't think anybody can hide it, especially not anybody who really knows what they're doing or even know about their feelings. And so I was so mean. And I just told Dale, I didn't tell, but I remember saying, I don't want you here anymore. I don't want to be in your life. I didn't even give him a reason. I just pulled the carpet up from underneath him one day, and it really messed with him. And I always felt bad, but that's all I knew how to break it off, because I knew I couldn't be with him, even if I wasn't with the girl, but I just could not be with another man. At that moment, I said no, and it hurt him. I mean, we had a good friendship, and the thing is, guys cannot handle, and I shouldn't say guys as a whole. It was so hard for people to understand. Oh, was it Dale's fault that you became a lesbian? It's a journey, and I'm like, why is it even about him? And no, but it became associated with that, and so not only was I the town dyke, but I made this guy go crazy, and so it just became really heavy, and that's when people started talking, like just the whispers. But I just wasn't dating anybody. I'm young. I'm still a kid. I'm going to high school. What I'm doing now in my life is that I realize that I have these really big feelings to this particular girl, right? Oh, this is the one, right? This is the one. What am I? 9th grade it. And then.
Now, you had mentioned to me that you grew up wanting to be a preacher.
I did.
Were you still feeling that way during this time?
Yeah, but you don't yes, I was, but it became really stifled by the fact that I knew I was queer. So there was no place for me. So I had to get rid of that. It's almost like there was a lot of particular points in my life where they completely shattered in a way, and I had to rebuild in survival mode. So, yeah, I used to go to vacation Bible school and everything, and I wanted to be a preacher, but the more I seen about the people around me, and then the older I got, it wasn't feasible for me. I was going to hell to everybody around me who I thought was God's people. Yeah, I'm going to hell for all that. And so it just became really, I had to get another journey.
So let's talk about when you met the 29-year-old. Can we jump ahead to that? You were 17.
Yeah, so we went on a field trip to this sheltered workshop, and I was just fascinated, 17-year-old walking in and seeing, a structure of things and people having fun. And then I look over and there's what appears to me like a few lesbians. And so I was like, what? Again, 17-year-old self was like, wow, there's lesbians here. And this feels good. And so, again, 17, there's a woman that came over, and she had a motorcycle. I didn't know who she was. I don't. But she was from Hornwall, I later found out. And she had this motorcycle. She's like, hey, it was like a pickup line. It's so cheesy. And I just ate it up. She's like, hey, you want to come look at my motorcycle? And I was like, sure. And I'm like, what the fuck? You know? And so I go over there and she's starting to groom me, like, come over. So at this time, again, I worked at Sonic Drive-In in Hornwall. I was going to school and I had a part-time job at Sonic Drive-In. So she'd just creep over there. She'd be at Sonic Drive-In like all the time. And I'd be like, what are you doing? She'd be like, hey, we should hang out. All of a sudden, she got really close because that's what people do. I knew I was a lesbian, but I didn't know how to open the door. And really, do you want to go through the first door with the 30-year-old or 29-year-old? So,
Like, were you really uncomfortable during this time? Like, when she came around, were you uncomfortable or did you like the attention?
so I liked the attention, but I also was really nervous about that. Even me, as a young person I was, and in the South, it's kind of backwards, but I was like, there's a big age difference. Somebody's going to notice, right? So my great grandmother gets sick, and this is the one we met Talbert. She gets really sick, and I guess Granny, which is her daughter, which is also your, decides between her and my mom that they were going to move her into and this is all going together. They were going to move her in to our house in Hornwall, Tennessee. My mom is not a caretaker. My mom is bipolar undiagnosed at this time. My dad is definitely not a caretaker. And our house had only 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. And Melody had I think she got married or was getting on her first marriage. And so I was like, oh crap, there's not room for me. And Dad's like, so Tammy had weaseled the way in. And yeah, Dad was all like, yeah, let's move Deborah into you. Let's move. And I was like, so yeah, excitement, but also what? So there was no protection for me. I was just like luggage. I was like, okay, so you go over there. But when I get over there, there's already somebody living there. There's already somebody in what I thought was my spot in a relationship, even though I didn't really, understand the whole relationship. I'm 17 again, but there's a woman living in this house that is Tammy's partner. That is Tammy's longtime partner. And I'm like, so not only now I get in and this woman's looking at me like I'm a homewrecker. Girl, I'm just trying to figure out who I am. That was the big catalyst. So during that time, I am sick because now I've got to live with Tammy, and now Tammy's parents are very, very strict. Tammy's mother comes to me and she says, hey, if you don't tell your parents, I'm going to tell them. Because ain't nobody going to be up here. You're not going to just live off of Tammy like that. I mean, girl, I was barely surviving at this time. I was so sick. Yeah, I was working full time. But at this time, it had already gone around Hornwall, Tennessee that I was living with Tammy, that I could not graduate. I had to quit school. I got my GED. I didn't even go to
Why did you have to quit school?
Because Susan, it would have been humiliating. They was already writing all over the bathroom walls that Deborah is a lesbian. And it just, now my 49-year-old self could take it. But my 17-year-old self thought I was going to hell. I was trying to fight them feelings.
So you chose to leave school because you were being bullied.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I left very, very low because I was smart. And I am a smart, educated. I very rarely had to study in school. Yeah. My mouth can talk too much and I can get my words mixed up, but I'm an intelligent human being. And so that really bothered me. So I went out and got my GED. But now I'm trapped. I'm in this place because my parents don't have space for me. And now if they found out that I'm gay, well, they're not going to want to make space for me. And so I'm sitting down, I'm writing this letter because that's how I communicated. There's no way I could have, there's just no way.
Instead of letting Tammy's mom tell them, you're like, I've got to tell them.
I got to tell them because I got to tell them who I am. And I remember it starting like this. I remember Mom and Dad, that's how I did it. Mom and Dad, I need you to know that I am the same person yesterday that I am today, that I will be tomorrow, that you will love, the same goofy little face, the same person who played. That's how it started, but I need to tell you this. I have been living with this for years, I remember, and I am gay. I think I put I am a lesbian. And I laugh because my journey is so much bigger than that, but I'm a lesbian. And at this point, we only know what's around us. We only know what we see. And I was always a cynical kid. I knew the TV was just that, the TV. It's all make-believe. I never got caught up in this make-believe fantasy. My eyes were my truth. So when I thought about lesbians, I thought about there was me, and I guess I'm supposed to play the femme role, and then there's Tammy, and then she's the butch role. But I never met a trans person. I thought there was really butch people, and they lived on the river, and they fished all day, but I wasn't one of them, because I didn't want to live on the river, and I didn't want to fish all day. You see that?
Hold on, the trans people lived on the river?
I'm telling you, my mind. Yeah, so I was like, because that's all I knew. There was 2 women that I knew that looked just like men. And I was like,
Okay.
I wonder if they were trans, but they lived on the river. And for my little self, that's all I knew. And so I was like, I don't want to live on a river in a boat. I don't want to fish, so I can't be. So we all try to put ourselves in boxes. You know what I mean? We want to be in somebody's box. And so, yeah, so that was my, God, that was my, I think. And then I told my mom. So now it's starting. I'm writing this letter, and I'm writing it, and it's Wednesday night, right? Whew, and I have to work at Sonic Drive-In. Later, a little bit after 8 o'clock, came to Sonic Drive-In and kind of threw Bibles at me. Not kind of. See, I do that. There was like a group of people, I want to say 8:15, 8:20. They come around Sonic Drive-In, because Sonic Drive-In, if you don't, it's a drive-in and you don't go inside and eat. You eat in your car. And I worked there, and I didn't have to wear skates, thank God. But like, I would walk there. Yeah, right. Because I would have failed. But like, here they come, and me, I'm this little queer 17-year-old who just wants to please everybody. That's all I want to do. And I see these people, and I'm like, dang, we're getting busy. And
Do you remember how many cars there
I
were?
want to say it was packed. So I want to, God, at least 20. I want to say, and that's big.
Seriously?
Yeah, and that's big. That's big.
I mean, that's the whole church, pretty much.
Yeah.
But when
But,
they came to Sonic, who was the most outspoken?
I want to say the preacher, but also I shut down, Susan. Like, I thought that they were gonna wrap me up and take me to a conversion camp. Like, seriously, like, I was so scared that I remember thinking, I ran inside and I was like, hey, and they're like, you need to get out of here. And then so I left, right? Because I just got in my car and I left. And I remember going back to where I lived with Tammy. And then the next day they said, this just isn't good for business.
The church comes to Sonic. They throw Bibles at you. They tell you that you're going to hell.
Oh, straight up going to hell.
The next day, Sonic fires you. I need you to walk me through that conversation. Like, who had the conversation with you, and how did that go down?
Well, the owner of Sonic was I can't remember his name, but he's passed on now. But his daughter Jackie owned it, and she was a good person. But yeah, he told me, he said it's just he didn't need the publicity. I went into work, and he's like, hey, this is just not going to work out. And I was like, what do you mean? And I didn't know anything about protecting rights or laws. And he's like, yeah, it's just not going to work out. We don't need this kind of publicity here. And I was like, what? And I was like, it should be all right. I told him it's just really hard for me right now. And he's like, you don't need to bring your business into work here. So we're going to, yeah. And so that was it. And there was no fighting it. I just got my, I just left. I was coming in from work and I didn't even clock in. I think I just left. Yeah, he said, I was like, so I'm going straight back to Tammy's house. Massive depressed. I mean, isolation. I'll never forget this feeling. This was the worst feeling of my life. I started panic attacks. And so, and I didn't know what they were. They just came up. My throat started closing, what felt like it was closing. And during this time, and it's just because all these feelings of not being worthy and really not having anybody, it was really there. And truly to the point of I didn't have anybody. And I'll tell you, so I stuck to Tammy because now I had to. I'm glued to her. I have nobody else. Now I'm married to this girl, whether I like it or not. So I'm trying to make it work. But the thing is, I'm still finding out who I am. I'm finding out I'm not a femme human being. I am not. Yes, I have feminine energy, but I am not going to play this Barbie doll for you. That is not. And so slowly things started changing. Like the first time I cut my hair, she loved my hair. Like it was almost like I was a I was like a prize, and she would show it off. And I remember I was like, all right, you love my hair. And I remember, and I can laugh about this now. Ellen DeGeneres was new, and the Ellen show, she was the first lesbian. And so I was really, I don't know if it happened, but I remember going to the beautician or beauty shop or whatever, and I was like, can you cut my hair like hers? Well, they didn't, they weren't very good. But the point is, it got cut off. And she was not a happy camper. Like, she was not happy. And I remember telling her, I was like, yeah, this is probably going to be one of many changes, you know what I mean, that's coming down. But also the point is, she was a very sick human being. So there was this point of, at 17, we were together, and she's 29, which there was no really consent in that. I'm sorry. I didn't understand what I was getting into with the credit and all that. But like, she was also extremely sick. So this is a whole nother layer. I became her instant caregiver. So there was no childhood. She was in and out of the hospital. I was expected to be there 24/7. She was in the hospital. I was expected to stay in the hospital with her. That was her family expectations. A 17, 8-year-old just given, I began to build resentment really quick. And just my life is slipping away. And so I tried to leave her a couple times, and she would take my sparks plugs out of my car. And it was a very unhealthy. And then when I ended up finally leaving her, but it was always to jump with somebody else because I had nothing. And that was, it became this really unhealthy thing because there was no foundation for me to lean on.
We've talked about at some point you coming here and the two of us really unpacking a lot more of this in detail. And I really want to do that, but I do want to, before we run out of time, I want to ask you some other things that I think are really important. Like, talk to me as someone who has never experienced this. Talk to me, Alex, like, what is it like for you day to day, living your life, going to the grocery, going to the movies, traveling? What's it like to be Alex as a trans man, just day to day?
So I feel like I want to make sure that I'm speaking just for myself, because I feel like in the broader form of things, I've been pretty blessed in certain areas of my life. And I want to say that first, but I'm going to give you an example. I was supposed to fly down there. I was supposed to be right in front of you right now instead of doing it this way. And the thought, I had a panic attack in the middle, and I hadn't had panic attacks in a long time, Susan. So I wake up in the middle of the night and I had a panic attack. And he's just like, what's wrong? And I was like, I don't have a real ID. And I started like panicking. And my panic got so, and you handled it so well, like, because I want to hold everything in. I don't always want to share my panic with anybody. I want to fix it or try to, or maybe. And so the thought of me being stuck at that airport, and like I said, I present well on the surface, but once you dig one layer, you're going to have some questions, right? Them questions, I just wish they could, I've been really lucky where I haven't had to answer them, but the thought of answering them, it scared me. It scared me to get behind somebody cynical who wanted to question my identity based on my genitals.
What do you think they would ask you?
Well, why does my driver's license say male? Because I mean, and then, the thought, here's another thing, Susan, like the thought, to get a real ID, you need your birth certificate. Now I haven't. I've been to court. I've done a lot of things through the court, because with me, anything has to go through the court. So I have these documents, but they still say Deborah. And they still saying, if you want to be a shithead in this world, you can still be a shithead. And you can remind me of my secondary place in the world, right? Everybody can remind us of that. And that's what the problem is. We are all just trying to find our place in the world, right? And do it in the best we can to feel healthy. Me, I'd prefer to be invisible, but I realize that that's not really the best way for my energy to move through this world at this particular point. So it's important to be seen, but I will say my most comfortable area in this world is invisible. And that's probably based on all the trauma. I mean, I'd almost bet that. And
You grew up so involved in church. You wanted to be a preacher. You loved being involved in church. Like, when's the last time you ever went to church?
Girl, people try to get me to go all the time. The last time I went was Metropolitan Community. It's a gay church here in Portland, and I went when I was with Kathy for that. I was with her for almost 17 years, and we went through a stint of that because there was 3 kids, and I went for them, but there was no connection as far as. But I remember I really liked Glennis Shepherd. I will say that she was a speaker like I would want to be, and she's from Tennessee, so I really enjoyed listening to her. But I always just wanted people. I guess I had this dream where I wanted to be there and tell kids, you're going to be safe. There is no, you don't have to worry about heaven and hell as a kid. You just worry about being happy. I just think we put too much pressure on kids with this whole heaven and hell thing. And it just, that was my journey. And honestly, it never stopped. I always look at it. I just never found my place in it. Like I said, when I was at Metropolitan Community Church, I was there, but there was just some areas. It was a very, it just wasn't where I felt, my community could be. You know what I mean? And that's all. There's nothing against anything. I think we all got to find our own.
Yeah, you just didn't feel at home there. Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you a couple of questions. We call these deep questions.
Oh, Lord, you got to get deeper.
If you could snap your fingers and convince American Christians of one thing, what would it be?
You need to love your kids. And that's just not love them through you got to love them for where they are. It does damage not to love them. We could change so much just by loving their kids where they're at. You don't have to participate in it. You don't have to join parties, but you got to always you got to love them. You got to love them. And that is unconditionally. And that's what I would tell them. Love is so important.
Now, when I ask you this question, I want you to think broader in general, painting with a broad brush. When you think of the church, and that's Tennessee to Portland and all in between. And when we're talking about Portland, you live in Portland, Oregon, which is very different from Hohenwald, Tennessee. When you think of the church, what is the first word that comes to mind?
Sin.
Say that again.
Sin.
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 That's the first word. What do you wish the first word was?
Love. It really does mean a lot to me. I wish that we weren't punitive as human beings. I'd give anything. Like, sin is such a terrible word. I don't know. And love, yeah.
One more. Is there anything you learned growing up in church or since that you're actually grateful for?
Dad, so much. What are you talking about? Like, I mean, even through the abuse, I wouldn't give up there's this sense of, being from Tennessee gave me I have this work ethic that, man, I'm so grateful for. You have no idea, because I see people around me and you don't get that, and we need to be grateful for each other who has it. And also this resilience in me. There's things in me. I'll just keep going. Like, we're going to survive. I'm going to keep going. And I believe that came from my childhood. I believe that came in my roots. And church has a place. Church was good. Church brought me such comfort. I just wish it doesn't scare. I wish we could take the ugly out of it for little kids. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Do you believe in God?
I do.
Why? What makes you believe in God?
So, through everything, I believe myself as a human of service. That's what I do in my line of work now. I serve elderly adults. Now, if they knew exactly who was serving them, they might reject me. I'm not 100% with my audience. I'm not 100% honest with my audience because I don't feel like it needs a place. because my love is unconditional and they're getting work, you know what I mean? And like they get the best of me. So there's none of that. But during this job, I've got to watch a lot of people cross over, and I've got to spend time. And just from my experience, and and this is my journey, and I've practiced atheism. I practiced so much because I was angry, right? But there's something bigger. I just feel it. Um, and I know that we are all uniquely loved just the same way and special because I feel it the older I get. And I wish I could have felt this younger. This could have, but there's a feeling when I care for people. It's there. It's in human connection. It's there. That's where God.
Would you call yourself a Christian?
Oh, this is probably going to be like, I believe that if we were true Christians, that I believe that Gaza is Jesus and we are killing Jesus. And if we were Christians, we would be fighting that like we're fighting ICE. We would be up there. We would be risking because people are dying, right? And Ukrainian, that's where Jesus lives, and it's where all the people are dying. We gotta be. There's humanity out there that we're missing the mark. You know what I mean? And if I'm going to be a part of a culture that's called themselves Christians, it's supposed to be about love and helping our refugees, and then we need to do it. We need to do simple that.
So is that what keeps you from fully embracing being a Christ follower, is because of what you see other people who call themselves Christ followers not doing or doing?
And I know it sounds terrible, but yes.
No, I mean, it's not about what sounds terrible. It's your perception.
But it's like they're owning everything good and turning it upside down. You know what I mean? And it's like,
what do you mean when you say that? They're owning everything good and turning it upside down. What does that mean?
It used to be a point to where, and I don't want this to get too political, but what isn't? And it's MAGA. It's MAGA.
Can?
Yeah, MAGA Christianity is just so scary to me because it's nothing about the Bible, and we're making it up and it's so hateful and so. I just can't participate in that, and they are brainwashed. The people that I know, that I've sit there and tried to talk to them one-on-one, and I've done it. Like I said, I work with very elderly people, and they don't even know where I stand. I'm very out, but I listen to them, and it's just like little sheep going to the slaughter, and I don't get it.
Can you give me one example of something that you associate with that group? You're calling the MAGA people, whatever. What's one thing you associate that you're just like, I can't believe that they are buying into that or believe that?
One thing, ICE, this stuff that's happening all over. I know Oregon, California, just the ICE itself. Like, why aren't we protesting and doing this? Christians should be in the front point. This is not the way. This is not. I mean, we should be protesting for humanity. I mean, that's one. And then I'd also say, why are we picking on trans people right now? It is not even the issue, but you got these MAGA Christians. They want to strip they want people like me to be non-existing. And I don't understand that. Where's that love like? Where is that Christ like?
Tell me something that's happened or that you've observed that makes you feel like they don't want you to exist.
Well, I have friends, that live in the South that, for instance, my friend with Donna, she says it's, now I'm not there, but she says it feels really different in the South right now. Like I said, I'm not there. I don't participate in it. But for me, I worry about bathrooms in the South. Me, that's what I feel like, and I feel like it would challenge me. I'd feel like I'd go into a man's bathroom and I'd be challenged, and it could just be up in my head. But me personally, like I said, I don't go out to public places but I've been really lucky in my life, but it's happening to people around us,
do you mind being specific? Like, what is happening?
So there was an issue with a trans person that was just going to the bathroom, and it was in the South Virginia. And I watched the whole YouTube on it, and they were just going to the bathroom. And this woman said, and it was just this Christian white woman, no, you can't be in the man's bathroom. You can't. And then when the person went to try to go to the woman's bathroom, you can't be in here. Where do they want us? And it became this, there was 3 men coming. So these things happen a lot in the South. I mean, yeah, I'm lucky, like I said, and I feel like I don't put myself in any position that would warrant that. I don't go to clubs. I don't go to honky tonks. I don't hang out to bars. I pee before I leave the house. You know what I mean? There's just things I do. So I've been really lucky, but I do know of incidents of things that really break my heart. And, I hope that helped answer a little bit.
Yeah. I just want to say something. Alex, your story is very sacred to me. It's very sacred to me. Because I can't, and that's one reason why we're having this conversation, because I personally cannot empathize with 90% of what you have experienced. And I'm really sorry. I'm really, really sorry. You didn't deserve for those things to happen to you. And you, I believe, are a human being made in the image of God, and you matter, and you have worth, you have value, you have a purpose. And I am honored that you would even share so vulnerably with me all of this stuff. And I hold it very sacred in my heart. And I love you very much.
I love you. Yeah, I'm so grateful.
And I hope we can have a lot more conversations.
We will. And I'm going to come up.
You have to do one last thing for me.
You got it.
You got to give us your favorite go-to dance move. But they might have to adjust the cameras, because I told them we were going to do this.
Go-to dance move, and I just told you.
You did one for me the other day.
I did. Oh yeah, I do this. I'm a white boy. What are you talking about?
I don't know.
Oh no, I'm gonna practice. I'm gonna practice on something, and then by the time this journey is through, I'm gonna have a real good dance move. You're gonna be like, what?
Okay.
All right,
we'll do it together.
Yeah,
we'll do it together.
All right.
I started on a journey to leave my echo chamber months ago, and the very first call I made was my cousin Alex, because I knew from being connected to Alex on social media that there were some stories there. I just didn't know all of them. And so months ago, Alex committed 100% to be on this journey with me, and it's been really special. And so what you just watched or listened to is the very first interview I ever recorded, and it happened to be with Alex. So it's meaningful to me for so many reasons. Obviously, I'm not a professional interviewer. Alex is not a professional storyteller, and there are parts of his story that are hard to talk about. And so it may not be super easy to follow that timeline. However, what's so important to me as I'm being honest on this journey is that I have to tell my audience, I have to tell you that I have lived the majority of my life as a very conservative, very principled person of faith. And there's such a high probability that I would have been one of the people at Sonic shaming 17-year-old Deborah. And I hope to goodness I wouldn't have thrown a Bible. What on earth? But I have to admit, it's very likely I would have been there, because I would have thought that was the right thing to do. And that's very shameful to me. And it's very hard for me to admit that, but I have to. The other thing is, my team and I really spent a lot of time talking about that interview. We were concerned about the quality of it. And so we decided to actually record a second interview with Alex and just redo the whole thing. And as I watched them both back, I was like, I want my audience to see or hear the first interview. I think that's important if you're going to be on this journey with me. And so what we're doing is after this, we're going to show you or let you listen to the very, very end of part 2, my second interview with Alex, because there's some cool stuff that happens at the very end of that I just want to share with you. So we can call that like a bonus / extra / part 2 / whatever. But I hope you enjoy that. And please comment below, ask questions, share with Alex and I how that story resonated with you. Did it? Or someone you know. We want to hear from you, and we can have Alex back on to answer your questions. I'm willing to answer your questions as well. So thank you so much for listening, for watching, and being on this journey with me.
Do you believe in God?
I think so. Here's something funny for you. So since we reconnected, I think you asked me this question once a week. No, but like something like this, and then
we talk almost every day, just so everyone knows.
Every day, it's the highlight of my life. But like it, but so I've been working with people around me, and I don't know if I'm shifting, like they're seeing something with me, because I'm getting this random like God stuff all around me. When I tell you, not just you, I've got my front desk receptionist giving me quotes about being bold daily, and they are straight from, she is giving me worship quotes. And she says, do you mind? And I said, I don't. They are motivating me. So I'm opening the door. So yes, I'd say yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Why do you believe in God?
I think that there's just been a lot of stuff over the last few months that's really pushing me. I mean, it's been a very big subject in my life, my whole life, and I've jumped around about it. Spent a lot of time thinking about it, and I think the anger came from the way I was treated by some.
By some who? Christians?
Yeah, and so I blame the whole religion. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so, and I think at time when you go through healing and stuff, that you're able to look at it objectively and realize that some who don't understand God's word have painted a picture for young people, but through learning, through people like yourself, through the concierge, I'm telling you, these people are in my life. Like,
what do you mean they're in your life?
They're just jumping in there and they're showing me good stuff, you know, like through action. And I'm a very cynical human being. So if I don't see it.
Give me an example of something someone's done recently that you're referring to.
Okay, perfect. So our work is hard. Healthcare can be very selfish. Healthcare can be very, very selfish, and we're on a budget, and we have different personalities. But we have a general policy about things, and then we have, things that you can't do and things that you can do. And so recently, there was a lady who came to our attention that she couldn't afford groceries, and the only time that she ate is when she worked at our job, and she wanted all 3 meals. And before I could even do any leading of any kind of good, my kitchen staff stood up and said, that's what we're here for. You know, if that's not, and things like that. And I know that may seem petty to you, but I haven't seen that a lot, you know. And then you have a concierge who's sending me these uplifting worship messages that are not really, they're not shameful. They're not, and I'm trying to find fault with them. I'm like, why are you sending me this? And I'm reading. I want to find fault with this. And I'm reading. I'm like, well, dang. All right. Why can't I be bold?
Share. Can you share one of those?
I have them on my desk at work, and I will send you. Yes, okay. And it's just that I asked her. Do
you consider yourself to be a Christian?
So that's the one I don't. I mean, I want to say that. I want to say and know that I can say that, and people won't say behind the doors, well, that's a fool. God doesn't love trans people. Why would he think he's a Christian? That's what stops me. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
So,
I have some deep questions.
oh, let's do it.
As a human being, Alex, what's the number one thing that makes you feel seen and loved?
It's really simple. It's when somebody gives you feedback. You know, for instance, at work, and when I feel seen is if somebody gives me feedback that a group of people that I'm leading are doing tremendously well. That is something that moves me. I'm like, yeah, because at the end of the day, if they're doing terrible, it's also on me. And so at home, to be seen, just somebody who accepts me for who I am. For instance, I like to sit. I love that I live beside Sam and Sarah. I freaking adore them. I like to sit in a chair. We have a little area. I pretend like it's a big yard. I love it. And I like to smoke weed there. And that's what I do.
And you listen to music.
And I listen to music.
Because you're always sending me the songs that you listen to.
And it has never, and sometimes my dogs are such a pain. Well, a D, Rowan's amazing, but a D can be too much. And like, it's just, there's just this respect that is just there. And like, and I know that if anything happened, they would come to me, but it's like this feeling of free to live in a place that it's just okay. It's okay. And whatever's going to happen, we'll get through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll get through it.
All right, here's another one.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
When you think of the church, just broad paint with a broad brush, what is the first word that comes to your mind?
Trump.
Trump?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Why is Trump the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of the church?
Because I feel like that I'm just being real with you. I just feel like he has tainted that so much. There's so many people doing his bidding inside the church. And I have, just the stuff and right now, and maybe it shouldn't be like that, but it's just so ugly right now. And that's
what do you wish the word was that you first thought of when you thought of the church? When you think of the church?
Home. Home. HOME, home, where it should be for everybody.
What's one thing you believe Christians need to learn from people who are disenfranchised?
You don't have to. It's so simple. You don't have to participate if you don't agree. You don't have to. It's like.
What does that mean? When you say, like, if you're talking to a Christian and you're saying you don't have to participate if you don't agree, what does that mean?
That means if you're so against it, just know that you never have to be trans. You personally don't have to live that life. You don't have to change yourself to be trans. But you should give love to everybody. You know what I mean? You're getting too much into it. Like if I don't want Chick-fil-A, I'm not going to tell my neighbors they don't eat it. Do I eat Chick-fil-A? Absolutely not. Although I did have Chick-fil-A the other day because somebody bought it and they asked me to eat it with them. And I said, if I'm not going to be open with you, how can I expect you to be open with me?
So you ate that Jesus chicken?
Oh, it was good too. I ain't gonna lie. It was a good piece of chicken.
Hey.
So I ate it. But here's the thing. If I don't need to stand there and pick it, I don't need to go to these places. You know what I mean? If they bother me. And I just wish us as a world just did that. We don't have to go.
Yeah.
Like.
Okay, I need you to look at me. As a person of faith who goes to church and considers myself a Christian, I want to say I'm sorry. I am really sorry I'm sorry for what you experienced as a child, that you weren't protected by the people that were supposed to protect you and love you. You were abused. And I'm sorry that the church has made you feel like unloved and uncared for. And your willingness to share your story with me and for whoever else will listen or watch is such a sacred thing to me. And I am so honored. I'm really honored to have a relationship with you and that you trust me enough that you would just open up your heart and share these things with me. And I just want to thank you.
So I am so grateful. I've never had anybody hold the space when you said that at the end, and you said it before. And you're owning something that you're really not responsible for, but it does make a difference. And I want you to know, just by acknowledging the pain and saying that, it moves mountains. And I'm grateful for that. And I will end this. I do want to say one more thing to you is, I am all about action and kindness. And I will say, Suzanne, you do not disappoint. You are one of the most kind Christians I have ever met, and had the lucky to call you my cousin, whether second cousin, whatever, we're country, so that's the way it is. But like you make a difference. You are the light. I mean, you can be, I hope it makes sense, but you have been such a light to me and really opened my heart and my mind and safeness. You've made it very safe to talk about Christianity without not feeling like I'm on the other island over there, that actually I can stand on this island with you and we can have a conversation and I don't have to run away. Does that make sense?
That is so meaningful to me. Thank you.
And I love you to the moon.
I love you. I love you beyond the moon. I love you more. I love you more.
So now you heard what I said after part 1 of my interview with Alex, and now you've seen the end of part 2, and I can't watch it back without getting emotional. Alex and I have been talking for months. We talk almost every day, and I'm sorry. I recommend this journey to everybody because my faith is really important to me, and I'm not deconstructing it. I'm not leaving it behind. But God, there are people that I've spent my entire life, and I'm almost 52. I'm sorry, I think I'm almost 53. Oh, Lord. There are people I've spent my entire life shaming and not even to their face, just behind their back. When you talk to them, they're really awesome people. And Alex has brought so much richness into my life. I'm so grateful for that relationship. And who knows where it will lead. That's not my responsibility. My responsibility is, as a Christ follower, is to love the way that Jesus did. And that's what I'm trying to do. So thank you so much again for being on this journey. And again, please comment below, ask questions, share your story, and you can even do it anonymously. You are welcome as part of this journey. Thank you so much.
You told me you were going to work on this. Is that it?